Namaste. Welcome to a new paradigm of education. I'm your host, Monique Sayers. Today we have our special guest with us. Her name is Ria Loveguard. Before I go ahead and introduce Ria, let me introduce the podcast with you. So, New Paradigm of Education is a transformation in education. It's a place where we all learn and we all grow together. We all hold hands and unite and stand for a change in education. That could be a small change, that could be a big change. What I really love about a new paradigm is there's not really one path. We're sort of carving the path together. And we're connecting with people from all around the world with all their beautiful natural gifts and talents. So, what I was drawn to by Ria was that she's a light language activator. She's actually been one of my teachers and mentors in a program I'm doing currently in a magic school. And I was really drawn to her energy and her wisdom around light language, which led me to offer this place on a podcast because I thought she could serve all of us to know about this. So before I speak with Ria, I'll just quickly introduce who she is exactly. So she's a starseed and she's a light language activator. She's a 5D business strategist. She's devoted to equipping the leaders of the new humanity in the energetic tools they need to bring their cosmic visions down to earth. Wow, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be sharing with your community about light language and whatever else comes up in this conversation about education and the new paradigm. I love letting go of the old paradigms and bringing in the new. So I think I'm in the right place.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a collective field that we're all in at the moment. It's not just me or you, it's like all of us. There's been a shift in consciousness and in humanity, if you want to call it. And we're really ready to birth a new earth and to birth a new paradigm. Maybe we could start with that. Did you have any vision or any kind of background information that could help people to understand what your vision is of a new paradigm or what it means to you exactly?
So basically, I like calling it new humanity. And I think this is something that I've noticed as a difference between the English speaking world and the Spanish speaking world, where we call it the new earth in English. And I feel like in the Spanish speaking world, there's new humanity. And it resonates with me a lot because the earth will be the same earth. The planet is going to be the exact same planet that we're going to be on, but we as humanity, as the species that have inhabited this planet for thousands of years, we get a chance to shift and co-create with the planet. And how I see it is we have been suppressed when it comes to our expression, and we haven't always had a chance to be ourselves in whatever way it is shaped from childhood until adulthood. We haven't had a chance for free expression. And that then brings a whole lot of problems. And now there is an opening. There's an opening happening where we can actually show up authentically, just as we are divinely equipped, and be who we're meant to be. And this is something I'm helping people to do. And talking about the new paradigm, we can't forget the old paradigm. A few days ago, I've noticed a friend request for someone who titled themselves authenticity coach. And I'm thinking, well, it's great that they're teaching authenticity, but at the same time, how sad is it that we have to be coached in authenticity? That it's not something. Authenticity is just, well, who we are. And if we have to actually be stripping those layers so that people can be themselves. And I feel like the new paradigm of education, the new paradigm of earth, is all about actually expressing ourselves in our divine flow, in our divine gifts, what we are meant to do here. And in a way, it's different to the old paradigm of schooling and old paradigm of society, where we have been assigned labels. We have been assigned, who do you want to be when you grow up? If someone asked me that question, I probably wouldn't say I want to be activating star seeds and teaching entrepreneurs how to bring the visions out. No, the options were limited. You either want to be a doctor or a vet or a teacher or something like that. But the thing is, a lot of different roles that we came here to play, they haven't even existed in the past. And I feel this is the new paradigm, is that we can finally be who we want to be, who we were born to be.
Wow. And I feel that wholeheartedly. And what I got from that in terms of education was this notion of us boxing children into subjects. I myself am a teacher and I've taught subjects to children, and I've always tried to make them, as fun as I can and interactive. But when we were writing our book for the new paradigm last year with a group of us, that same message that you're sharing came through collectively, that actually to walk this new paradigm, we need to be able to ignite the gifts that are in children. And that could be any gift. Like you're saying, it's not just, hey, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a surfer. Like, how do they find those gifts? And I think you would align with me as well. A lot of that comes back to us, us as educators, parents, mentors, us also doing the work. So then our children can also feel that in us, and we can hold that space for them to be able to rise up and know what that is. So it's a big calling, it's a big calling for everybody, not just the children, not just the educators, but for humanity to be able to be ready for that and to take that place and to rise into that. So I really, really align with what you're sharing around that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something about this interrelation between us adults and the children. I specialized in unlocking the expression of adults, of grown-ups. However, I feel like if our children and the next generation, whether they are our physical children, whether we mums and dads, or whether they are just the new generation, if they see that we finally do things that are in alignment, and not only because we need to pay bills, or only because we're looking for status, or only because we're looking for survival in many different ways, shapes, or forms. I feel that in itself shifts the paradigm, because it gives them safety and hope that they can be accepted, they can be received. I think the word receive speaks to me here, that they can be received in their fullness. Because when I work with adults, this is the problem. I didn't get a chance, to catch them as early as you catching them when it's setting the right path for the younger generation. I am working with a product of the old system, and I'm trying to shift these people when I'm doing my individual sessions, to help them be who they are to be. And there's so many layers to strip, so many layers of conditioning, so many layers where people could not be who they wanted to be when they were facing either jealousy or judgment. I want to give you an example which I think ties in with that children's paradigm. I was working with a client a week ago who was literally brilliant in anything she set her mind to: dancing, horse riding, speaking, whatever. She was just one of them children prodigies. But she ended up literally blocking her expression and being scared of her own greatness, because the grown-ups were using her as a show pony. And it was like, okay, you're great at that, go and do it. Go, jump with horses, or dance, or do this, or do that. And it was, rather than be like, you actually enjoying yourself, okay, you in your element, you in your flow when you were the animals, or you in your flow when you're dancing. They were just putting her through competition, etc., etc., to win titles and accolades. And I feel like that shows really how, even when we have great children, really talented children, how as adults we can sometimes really screw it up by just putting so much pressure on them, rather than just letting it be guided. And in a way, I like the word custodian, and we are custodians of the new generations. They're not kind of ours to control, they're ours to take care of and just kind of guide gently. And unfortunately, it's not an easy task, but I feel like when we heal, like you said, when we do the work as adults, we get a chance to avoid these mistakes, so that the younger generation doesn't have to go through all these blocks, limitations, and doing all that inner work that sometimes takes us years to go through, right?
Yeah, exactly. I hear you on that. And I hear a lot of the old paradigm, what you're sharing, the pressures in school and the pressures to perform, the anxiety, the time frames, like all of that stuff that is just not serving. So thank you for sharing that, and also sharing that even if a child feels like they've found their gifts, to also be in that flow, that kind of feminine flow that you're talking about, the expression and just the allowance, the dance of being able to create more, or create less, or just to be, just to have that time just to be. And I think that it's amazing that we're walking into this paradigm, because, with this conscious awareness, it is going to shift. It may take a few generations, but gradually we're going to get there, and it's going to be just completely different. And our children will be looking at us like, wow, is this what you had to go through? Yes, but look what's here. This is why I'm so passionate about birthing and this new way, because I just know it's really healing, and it's just helping everybody, every single person on the planet. So it's a massive
Yeah.
calling. And
Yeah, just one thing that I also want to share with the listeners is how about the play and joy. And we as humans, we kind of feel like playing is kind of almost like a waste of time or like a pastime. My memories from my past lifetimes on other planets, including Arcturus, show that it doesn't have to be like that. The play is an element of growth at the same time. It's a value in itself. So, for example, how they have this setup in other dimensions is completely different. Like, for example, the Arcturians have a collective consciousness of children, and it is the kids are not what is collective consciousness. We've got more collective unconscious on Earth. Other species who are a bit more evolved than us have collective consciousness. And the Arcturian collective consciousness is like this beautiful cloud of the wisdom of this entire civilization. And everybody's got access to it. However, children have their own part of it. It's the collective consciousness of children, and they are slowly being onboarded onto the collective consciousness of the whole species. But as they're doing it through play. And in fact, the growing up takes a lot longer than on Earth, and the frequency of play is never lost even in adults. And I, being an Arcturian starseed, I have it in me. I'm kind of like that kind of joy, that childlike wonder. I've never lost it. And I would like to encourage every grown up listening to it, every parent, guardian, teacher, to go back to this and to start seeing play as a value in itself, as not something that we kind of just how would I say it? It's something we fill time between the work and the learning and stuff like that. Play can be part of it all. It can be value and beauty in itself. And that's a little message, maybe a little perspective from a different dimension, from different beings.
wow, thank you so much for that insight. That was new information for me. I could really feel that and feel the wiseness of it, the simplicity and the wiseness of play. Play is one of those things that's been explored a lot in schools. You think about Piaget and you think about all the greats, they've always included play, but they haven't embodied play, which is what I think you're saying. It's like being play. I'm going to be play at any moment, no matter what I'm doing. It's not like, okay, we're going to do play now. We finished our work, let's play. We finished our maths work, let's play. Everything is play, and I love that. That's like the full-hearted joy and embodiment. I can feel that exploding. It's so beautiful to hear that.
Yeah, and it's actually it's proven to work with children and adults. Like for example, I moved from Australia to Costa Rica, and I have to learn Spanish, and I have to do it really quickly. Not I have to, I really want to. I love learning languages. And I'm doing it through Duolingo app, and play is built in that app. It's like a part of gamification, and how much fun it is. You like, because you focusing on playing, you don't even realize you're learning the language. So that's just, a really, really good idea to incorporate that. And I feel what like makes this app great and effective, which helped hundreds of people learn foreign languages, is actually that play is at the very core of it. It's not an addition. It's kind of the essence, like you say, is the embodiment of play. And that's why it probably resonates with me, because I always had it with me.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm also learning Spanish. I'm in Uruguay. So I feel you. I love languages. I've actually taught English as a language as well. And I have this part of me that is able to kind of tune in and feel the language rather than listen to the words. And so I guess that's leading me into my question, because we wanted to talk about light language today. And so what I wanted to know with you is, like, if you're feeling like a language on earth and you're feeling a light language, can you absorb them the same or not? Like, it's just a personal question, I guess. Yeah.
I wish I could download human languages with the same speed as I download languages of extraterrestrial beings. It doesn't quite work like that. Although I feel like there is an interconnectedness, and I feel like activating light language and my passion and talent for light languages makes it easy for me to learn human languages. But let me just explain how light language activates. You don't learn. That's the first thing. With light languages, you don't learn. So it doesn't go through conscious mind. It is different. It goes in directly in your energy field, and the download of information that is coming through in this language, the load is so massive. It's like high-speed train or some kind of fiber optic connection, as opposed to something really slow and analog, which is how we learn language with our conscious mind. Because with light language, that integration with the conscious mind is secondary to it. That's why light language activates within literally seconds. And that's how I do it when I activate it in other people. You witnessed it during one of my activations in the magic school, but also this is how they all activated in me. I could literally tap into the energy and that collective consciousness of various beings of light, various races, also ancient civilizations of Earth that had collective consciousness, and the language instantaneously downloads, and it's fluent from the get-go. Unfortunately, with human languages, it doesn't work like that, because our conscious mind is involved. Light language works kind of around the conscious mind. It works directly in our energetic field. It works on a cellular level. It works on beyond this body, beyond the conscious mind. However, I do believe that there is a lot more research that needs to be done into light language, and a lot more understanding that we are to gain of these sound frequencies as a human collective. And part of my mission here is to bring conscious and intentional use of light language as a tool for transformation, as a tool of healing, but also something that we can understand, that we can translate. Because for many, many, many years and decades, light language was this mystical modality that we just basically meant to use but not understand. I think we're meant to both use and understand. So that is something that I bring to the table. But yeah, going back to the original question, I wish it was as easy with human languages as it is with light language.
Yeah, thank you. And there's a lot of information I could ask you about that. What I received, which was really beautiful, was that learning is happening through you. It's happening like a transmission. So it's not actually learning. It's like just and again, the word embodiment is coming through you. And I really feel this is the new paradigm. When I feel and I see the new paradigm and I try and explain it to people, I'm like, well, you don't actually need books. You don't actually need tools. You just need to show up and kind of be curious and ready. And then the learning is going to be happening through you. And I feel like this is really, really powerful, what you've just shared. Like, this is the new paradigm of education, what you're sharing,
yeah,
you know?
It's very difficult to explain, but the only way I can say that the learning happens is through osmosis. Or another way you can say it is remembering, because as a soul, on a soul level, we are connected to the quantum field of everything, and we can literally download whatever we need. It's just, I feel, something that we haven't consciously discovered yet. I feel like a lot of geniuses of the past and inventors were tapping into it with their inventions. I've heard about physicists and inventors who had downloads of information. We can call it a download of information, or like a brilliant life changer or humanity changing idea that came to them in a non-conscious state, in sleep. We've got artists that sometimes use even, like, methods like psychedelics to open up to their consciousness, and then they create beautiful art. It's just, we have put education again in a box, that this is how it happens, repeat after me, etc., etc., etc. But it doesn't have to be like that. And from my experience as a light language activator, and also starseed activator, because another thing that I do, I activate light languages in other people, but I also activate their divine gifts. And it almost happens beyond my conscious understanding. I can direct it with intention. But what seems to be happening is, as soon as people come into my orbit, things start to shift and activate. So, for example, I remember working with a lady who discovered by accident that she was a psychic. She was actually a real estate agent who was showing people around houses, and she accidentally discovered that she can read histories of these houses. So if there was a murder that occurred, or if there was something, you know, like that, that she was reading the story and they were matching up. And when she came to me, she already had these gifts, but she was still in her three-dimensional expression as an estate agent, and actually the income wasn't even flowing that great into that business. And I'm not going to make any claims for her gifts because they are hers. But what happens when people come to my orbit is almost like they come online and they get in confidence to express themselves in that way. So the said lady were kind of was pushing this gift away, but somehow, due to our interaction, she stepped into it. She's now expressing herself in a way, and literally the flow of abundance flows behind it too, because the minute she stepped up and put herself, she went to, I think, some psychic fair just to try, and she was booked up, I think, for like 5 days straight, and literally, made more money, I think, in that one psychic fair that she made throughout like months in real estate, which you will think, okay, well, real estate is where money happens, and psychic stuff is not. But I'm just illustrating this with this example to show you that those gifts, when they come online, they sometimes may be strange. They may be something that is actually like, freaking us out because it's not conventional. And how they even come online is non-conventional. But when we actually take the step of courage to step in it, this is where the magic happens. And again, that it's magic. It is magic. It doesn't work linearly, because if someone asks me who makes more money, an estate agent or a psychic, they'll probably think, yeah, big commissions, property, etc., etc. That will be a better way. But it's not like that. When we trust our own divinity and when we tap into it, things can flow easy. We can download our gifts easy. We can download knowledge easy. We've got access to knowledge and understanding that is beyond the conscious mind, because like, again, going back to that example, downloading information about the people's histories of houses and what has passed just from the atmosphere, it almost seems like far-fetched, but hey, there's information everywhere. The quantum field is accessible to anyone, and and we don't have to store everything in written history and on the internet. We could store it in invisible way, which leads me back to that collective consciousness and what I call consciousness technology. which is the invisible technology, which is the energetic way of storing information. And I also believe that it is not even new, that we had it here on Earth during the times of Lemuria, during the times of Atlantis, during the Mayan Empire. They were writing history in books, and some of them got damaged. For example, colonizers damaged all the Mayan codices, but the the history that was written in consciousness is still available to download. And I feel like that is the new paradigm of education as well, that we get to download knowledge, but we also get to upload our knowledge so that the next generations can kind of learn from osmosis.
Yeah, wow, I just got shivers. That's exactly what I have been able to see, but not articulate in the way that you see it, because you're seeing it in this full form. And I've had little snippets of that, and I have the feeling of osmosis, and I know there's more. And you've just articulated that so beautifully. And how easy is learning? It's like it's just happening. Like it's just happening, and we're just sharing, and we're just taking what we need. And it's amazing. It's really, really going to be changing the face of humanity and education as we know it. And
Yeah, I feel like learning will happen more on a frequency level, where we kind of almost like we're sharing our unique makeup, our unique coding with other people. And it happens just like you say, by osmosis, where we come into one another's orbit and we learn that way. There's that energetic exchange. So it doesn't have to be, okay, copy after me. I feel like very often when people come onto my programs or work with me, a lot of the shifts happen just by way of my frequency rather than what I'm actually going to teach them. Because I can, as a business coach, I can teach them strategy. This is how we do it. But the biggest shifts are not from what I say, and not from what I say in a way as, okay, you need to put a website and a funnel and PR and SEO and all of that. Yeah, I could do that, but anybody can do it. The biggest shifts occur because they move into a different frequency band. And it's also trusting it, because people sometimes we need that structure. We need to say, okay, if you come on this program or this course, you're going to learn A, B, C, and D. But actually, it's not the A, B, C, and D that is the biggest value in what you're learning or what you're teaching. It's actually those frequency shifts. And I genuinely believe that we as people are keepers of certain codes. And I've experienced that both as a teacher and also as a student. I've had experiences the other way around, where, and again, this is touching on another subject, which is the old student master paradigm, or master and student, where we feel like, okay, there is a master and there's a student, and there's this hierarchical way of doing things. But it's not like that in the new earth and the new humanity. Sometimes you set out as a you're teaching something, but you're learning just as much. I've had this beautiful experience, again, on an individual session with a client who was a male, and I was helping him with some very big traumatic events and kind of integrating them. But as I was working on his energy field, I got shared very interesting codes from his field, and it happened beyond my consciousness. Basically, my kundalini started awakening, and it was from a man, not from a woman, because there's a lot of divine feminine activators. This man was a carrier and a keeper of powerful divine feminine kundalini energy. And as soon as I started working on him, for him, I also got that. And the following day and the next weeks, my kundalini is awakening. I can feel this kind of like squeeze in my lower back, and I knew it was from him, because he had a kundalini awakening like before. And this is how this exchange works. So yeah, we're having a conversation, we're sharing stuff on a conscious level. Yeah, I'm here to teach you, maybe I'm here to serve you, I'm here to be your mentor. But in effect, it doesn't always work like that, because I'm learning, I'm getting as much as I'm giving. So yeah, that shakes the paradigm too.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. And I wanted to share that with our listeners as well, that you can embody what both Ria and I are sharing at this moment. Like I'm actually feeling an energy exchange between us. And I hope that you are also being able to join in that with us and enjoy this frequency and make, naturally just transform as we are transforming through our conversation. I wanted to ask you something else because you were talking a bit earlier about blocked expression and then being able to activate that expression. I feel this is really, really powerful to unlock the old paradigm because, at school, when I was first trained as a teacher, they were like, teaching us, okay, keep the children calm, keep them quiet. Somehow that just never sat well with me. I was one of those teachers that had the children all like jumping everywhere, and then the principal would run in and be looking at me like, what are you doing? And it just didn't feel right to me to say to be quiet. Like, so I was there kind of playing with them and letting them be a bit wild and crazy. And I don't know if that's what they wanted, but that's just what felt right to me and to them, I guess. So what I wanted to share was that you're like helping unlock this expression, and I want to have that message kind of comes through, like for children, like how can we help them, or how do we as humans allow this to be just natural? Like we've got light language, we've got this form of expression that you were sharing. Do you know what I'm asking you?
Uh, yes, yeah, yeah. I think it's of course it's a matter of balance because it's great when we can express ourselves fully, but it's like with freedom. Where does my freedom end? Well, when it invades on another person's freedom, another person's territory. And it is, but I feel like it starts with a shift in perspective. And it starts with almost deprogramming ourselves from the old saying, which probably is translated to every language. In English, it's that children are seen and not heard. In my native Polish language, it was that children are like fish, they don't have a voice. And I feel like when we actually start, it's like, even as I'm saying, I feel energy in those words, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And I really want to clear that out of our collective field so we don't see children as something to be molded, to be formed, to be conformed. You keep quiet until, or like, you've heard that grown-ups are speaking. Now it's like, and fair play, because as kind of that children's energy can be quite wild sometimes, and they do make a lot of noise at times, and that is a fact. It's just, how do we navigate it without making them feel like they have less of a voice because they're small? I feel like it's about, not like, oh, now grown-ups are speaking, so you shut up because you're little. That's wrong. I feel like it's maybe teaching them something in a different way, as in, like, we want to have a conversation now. How do we how do you understand that, I need a little bit of quiet time now because I'm doing something that requires silence, rather than, you don't have a voice, you shut up. So I feel like it's the energy behind it. So it's not that there's never time for silence. It's just, the most important thing is that children don't feel like they have to be quiet, or that they can't express themselves because they're children, because that's what is, like, the existing paradigm. It's like the adult's voice is more important than the children's voice. And no, we all human, whether we little human or big humans, we all, our voices are just as important. It's just a matter of navigating this space and somehow explaining that, and creating that space for silence, and creating that space for noise and for expression, and not ever letting them feel like they have less of a voice, and they're not seen and they're not heard just because they're small.
Yeah. And also I was feeling also around this energy of activation, like the embodiment of activating their voices. For children, many children are shy, or many children are quiet. And I was feeling around, perhaps you have a key for that, because with the light language, you're able to activate like our voices. Like I know when you've been guiding me in classes, you've been like, okay, just let out sound, whatever comes through is coming through. And like, how could you encourage that with the children is kind of what my question was more like, if that makes sense, like allowing
How
them to
can we
have that.
encourage that? Yeah,
Yeah,
so
to allow the expression to come through them, kind of like in the light language way, you know?
I think that is not even that we have to do anything particular. When I'm activating adults is different because I have to activate it. However, when I come across adults, a lot of them, and the people actually in your group in the magic school that have come up, came to me after the activation, in every group that I activate, the people who activate the light language for the very first time, but there's also people who have always had it in them since they were little. They just weren't allowed to use it. So it's not so much that with children we have to activate their voices. I think again we have to deactivate our intervention because there are hundreds of little star seeds who speak light languages, and I come across them as adults, and they tell me after the activation, well, okay, I knew light language activated, but the other one, I've had it all my life. I just wasn't allowed to use it, or I thought it was weird. I thought it was made up language. So it's just treating it kind of seriously because it may sound like a bubble, may sound like something we don't understand, but light language is not like language. It the word language sometimes really misguides us because it's not so much the sound itself or even what we make out of particular words, is the frequency in it, and it can be such a potent tool for transformation. I've had my light languages since I wasn't maybe a child, but I was a young adult. It activated when I think I turned 20. And it was a great tool when I was at university to give me some comfort, to give me whenever I was nervous, I was using it even without knowing exactly what it was. I was just speaking it to calm myself down, to calm my stress. And I feel like for some children, they will naturally know how to navigate this. So again, it goes back to shifting our paradigm and shifting our way of thinking from, no, there's nothing for them to learn. It's not that we need to teach them, it's just we need to allow it. We just need to allow them and not squash them, and it will unfold. If and some of you listeners will have probably children who talk to themselves in a made up language. May not be made up, maybe actual valid language is not of this planet. Let them do it. Let them do it. But then also when you feel like there may be blocks around expression, sometimes in children and in adults, but I feel like usually blocks around expressions that I'm working with, when I'm activating adults, they usually they come from childhood experiences, from not being heard, not being seen. It's not something that comes from past lives or comes, it can happen, yes, but I would say 95% just comes from us adults just not allowing them to just be themselves.
Yeah, thank you for that. Not controlling, just being that space of allowance. And I can relate with my own daughter. You know, she's often singing and making these beautiful noises, and I just listen with curiosity. I'm like, wow, I wonder what it is. And I ask her, but she hasn't been able to share with me what it is particularly. But I'm just like curious, like and sort of enchanted by the whole process of where she's at with it. It's really beautiful to
It
witness.
may well be light language. Lots of children have it, and as adults, when they first, I've had so many adults that heard me speak light language, and they feels like home. Or particular different languages, like I don't know, Lyran or Orion. I was like, wow, this is it. I've always had it.
Beautiful. This leads me into something that I think would be helpful for people. Is this light languages library that you've just created? I think it could help our listeners understand more about light language. Did you want to share about that?
Yeah, I would be very happy to share. So basically, one of the things about light languages, for a long time, it was like this mystical modality, and people thought that it's just one light language, where actually there's many. I myself speak, well, around 20 at the moment, but I can pretty much express any energy. What is the energy of the land? What is the energy from extraterrestrial beings? What is the energy of ancient civilizations, I can express it in the form of sounds. And those sounds are different, just as the energetic signature of different lands, energetic signatures of different beings is very unique and very different. And a lot of people are wondering when they start speaking light language where it comes from. And I've built up a bit of a reputation of a person who can recognize those different light languages, because in me they activate in a very conscious manner. I always knew what I was channeling, apart from my first one, Arcturian, which I've had for over 15 years. But every consecutive language activated as I came intentionally into contact with various beings of light, or with the land. For example, when I was flying to Mexico and I saw the Yucatan Peninsula, the ancient Mayan language activated. So I could tell exactly the origin of it. It wasn't kind of accidental. And over the months and years, I've been receiving a lot of requests from people. Can you tell me where my light language comes from? Can I send you a sample? And because of time constraints, I only offer this to my students. I've got a light language course. I do sometimes guest presentations like I did for the Magic School. And I've limited that service to my students because of the time constraints, and also because sometimes not every language is of the light. I just need to say that here, and I will be very careful. If something doesn't resonate, stop it. These frequencies are really powerful, and I've also had these guys as samples sent curses with, and I could say straight away it's not energetically aligned. So I've shut it to the general public. I wasn't listening to any more samples apart from people who I've activated and my students. But I didn't want to leave other people who are genuinely curious where their light language comes from high and dry. So I've created something called the Light Language Library, which is a free resource, which we can probably link up to, where you can listen to various samples of various light languages and learn a little bit about the frequency of it, where it comes from, and how you can use it, because different light languages render themselves for different things. Some can help heal animals like the Andromedan, others can be very energizing like the Pleiadian, whilst some others could be very calming like Lemurian. So this free resource is growing. It's not just me speaking those languages, it's also students that I've activated. I added their samples so you can see the different same language in different voices. And I suppose if you're curious about something like a light language, what it is, what it sounds like, maybe your child speaks it, maybe you remember it as speaking as a child, you can check the library out. And I hope this resource will kind of deepen your understanding of this mystical modality.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I know that it's helped me a lot, and just to also know, to learn precision, because I can make sounds, and I've used sounds in myself to heal myself, but I really didn't know what I was doing. Like, even as somebody who's connected to the divine, I didn't know what it was. So I feel like this tool that you've created is really serving so many people to have more precision, or to kind of have an understanding or a remembrance in some way.
Yeah. Precision is my strapline, is my middle name, and I feel like this is something that my higher self said to me, that we're moving to the age of precision. And that is really a big thing, because we've been dabbling a bit in those mystical modalities and energy work, and again we were in this play frequency, and we still are. It's fun, and it's, yes, free flowing is great, and I do that a lot in my transmissions, but sometimes you need something more laser focused, where you need a specific frequency for a specific goal so you can achieve that goal faster. And knowing what frequency renders itself to what, and where its origin is, and how you can co-create with the beings who the energy belongs to, that really help to have a more powerful effect of your transmissions, basically.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with me. And I guess before we wrap up, I just had one more download around like light language and kind of, I guess, energy. Like, I know that's a big term, but the more that myself or people could kind of tap into that within themselves, I feel like it's just going to be having us to help learning just to evolve naturally without us doing anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like definitely there is this kind of, and it's not just with light language, it's same with healing. The more we tap into it, the more it becomes like a normal part that it is available, the more we also evolve as a collective. Absolutely. I think is this what we're referring to, that like as the more and more people are awakening to this aspects of our multidimensional selves, the more we're evolving. And it's like this, we're discovering the next level. Okay, so I don't know, maybe 10 years ago we've discovered, oh, there is something called light language. We can tap into it. And then we discover, oh wow, but there is more than just the light language. We can tap into specific frequencies. It's the same with healing. Wow, novelty, there's something we can heal with energy. Okay, well, there's next level. Maybe we can tap to precise energies and we can use it for anti-aging and we can use it for that. So I feel like, yes, we definitely evolve. The more we all tap into, the more we evolve, not just personally, but it's almost like the level of consciousness being raised.
Yeah. And that's definitely the key of the new paradigm, is shifting that consciousness for everybody, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it makes me so grateful to meet with people like yourself, and even to our listeners. I'm just so grateful that you're all listening here and helping us all like collectively evolve together, making the paradigm shift together as one. So thank you so much for joining us today on our podcast, Ria, and we'll place all your links for everybody to reach out to you for the light language tools and however else they want to reach you. It's been a pleasure to meet you today.
Thank you so much for having me. And here is the full expression for everybody who listens. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into a New Paradigm of Education podcast. If you're wanting to connect with us on a deeper level, we have a group, a New Paradigm of Education on Facebook, that you're welcome to join in a conversation with us there as well. So namaste, everybody. Thank you so much.